Hello, today we have some great tips for you, and you may want to get out a paper and a pencil because we're actually going to cover tips for December, January, and February. But if you miss out, if you can't grab one fast enough, don't worry about it, because all of the information that we're going to cover is available in fact sheets from your local Extension County office. So if you miss any of them, you can call your county extension office and request information about the topics that we're going to cover. Now, first of all, I want to cover some of the December and January turf tips. Now, for those of you who are still maintaining a cool season grass, such as fescue here, this is going to, you will need to continue maintaining it through the winter months, because this is when it's actively growing and looks its nicest. You want to continue mowing, and make sure you keep the leaves off of the turf grass. You don't want it to become completely covered with leaves, because that reduces the amount of light that gets to the grass. It weakens it, and it can be susceptible to diseases and insects later on. So mow off the leaves, mulch them. Using a mulching mower works great, or if you have to, you can rake them up and then send them to the compost pile. Now, this is also a good time of year to control a lot of your winter broadleaf weeds, and you can do this with a broadleaf herbicide on grasses that are well established. Now, if you've just planted a new cool season grass, or if you've laid sod, you want to be careful. You probably don't want to use a broadleaf herbicide on those yet, but for established warm or cool season grasses, you can use a broadleaf herbicide to control those winter weeds, such as dandelions and others that may have popped up in your yard. Now, also, as we get into January and early February, you can spray Roundup over the top of a dormant Bermuda grass. Now remember, it has to be dormant. If the grass is still green, if we have another mild winter and the leaf blades are still green, you do not want to use Roundup, because it's a non-selective herbicide and it will kill just about anything it touches. It will damage your Bermuda grass. So the grass should be dormant, brown, and you should have a nice thick cover on the area too. If it's a really thin, weak turf grass area and you have a lot of weeds coming up, you probably don't want to use Roundup, because the Roundup can get down to the stems and the runners of the turf grass, and those usually have enough green in them, live tissue in them, that they can be damaged, and so you might spray it and it might not green up come springtime. So just be careful if you choose to use Roundup to control some of those difficult weeds during the winter months. Make sure your Bermuda grass, and this is only on warm season grasses, or Bermuda grass, with Roundup. And be sure, of course, to read your labels completely and follow the label directions just like it says. Now, for other parts of the landscape, let's talk about some of the trees and shrubs. If you have young pines in your landscape and you've had problems with pine tip borers, pine tip moth, you will want to, if you didn't spray them last month, then you want to go ahead and try and spray them sometime between now and the first part of March to control those. Now, other landscape plants, such as some of your evergreen shrubs and trees, and even your deciduous trees, as we go through the winter months and we go through some dry spells where we don't have any precipitation for several weeks, you want to make sure that you get out and you water those plants, because even deciduous trees and shrubs can become desiccated from the dry winter winds. So don't let them dry out. Make sure they stay well watered. Now, there are also insects that will hibernate on many of your trees and shrubs, in the buds or on the stems somewhere. So if you've had problems with insects on some of your landscape plants in the past, you can spray those with a dormant oil. Now, the temperatures need to be at 40 degrees or above before you can spray a dormant oil, and you can apply that to deciduous trees and shrubs to kill overwintering insects. Now, you cannot spray it on evergreen trees and shrubs, so don't apply a dormant oil to those plants, because they can become damaged. Another thought too is, if we have a warning of a really hard freeze and it's been really dry, it's a good idea to get out at least 24 to 48 hours before that freeze is expected to come, and make sure your ground has been well watered also, because plants actually will suffer even more if the ground is really dry and we go through a hard freeze. Now during the winter months, as the weather turns kind of nasty outside, that's a good time to sit inside, maybe in front of the fireplace, and reflect what's been going on or what went on last summer or last growing season. It's a good time to sit down and evaluate what happened, some of the problems that you may have had, and to set plans for next year to avoid some of those problems. It's also a good time to order some of the seed catalogs and start getting in information for plants that you might want to purchase and buy and plant next year. It's also a good time to take care of your tools. You can clean them up, make any repairs, sharpen them, do all those kinds of things during the winter months when there's not much else to do. Now out in your vegetable garden, a lot of times we don't have a lot growing in the garden at this time, and so this is actually a good time to come out and till the garden. You know, it's bare, but what you want to do, the purpose of tilling it is to bring up the insects, the soil insects that may be hibernating down deep in the soil. And as you bring those up through tilling and expose them to the surface, then the cold weather will help kill them and reduce the amount of pests that you might have in the soil. Now there's still several things to do in February. February is a good time to begin fertilizing your landscape plants as they anticipate the spring and new growth coming on. You don't want to forget your fruit trees and your nut trees, because they also need to be fertilized, and February is a good time to do that. This is also the time where you want to finish up a lot of your pruning, especially on deciduous trees and shrubs, especially those that flower in the summertime. Spring flowering plants, such as forsythia, you want to wait till after they've bloomed in the spring to actually prune those. You also want to prune your fruit trees during about mid-February to 1st of March. That's the best time to prune those as well. Now, spraying can continue to control insects in the landscape. You may still have some overwintering insects in your fruit trees and nuts and in some of the other landscape plants. You can continue to spray those with a dormant oil. If you've had peach leaf curl on peaches and nectarines, mid-February is a good time to spray a fungicide on those to control peach leaf curl. Now February through the first part of March, mid-March, is also a good time to be planting a lot of your bare root trees and shrubs that might be available in the garden centers and nurseries at that time as well. Well, these are all the tips we have for you for the winter months. We hope that you enjoy them, and come back and see us again next year.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.